G'day, it's your old mate Matthew here. Welcome to the Yarnsman podcast. In this episode, we have a good yarn with Sean Barnes, and we get into a few things. Cultivating good connection and the need to work at it. Positive affirmations. The concept of solitude. And the really interesting thing is we talk about the movement When No One's Watching, or WNOW, and he details how they've set that up in Christchurch and what it's all about. Hope you enjoy the yarn. Hello and welcome to the Yarnsman podcast. Today we have good friend Sean Barnes in the high-tech podcast studio. How are you, Sean?
Beautiful studio, man. I feel great to be here, and we've joined by your third guest.
Third guest, Sausage.
Sausage is behaving, yeah.
For now, although he looks really pissed off.
Yeah, but yeah, cats are there to judge.
Yeah, that's right, and make us come up with good questions and good answers.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Sausage is watching. That's good.
Sean's a long-time Yarnsman supporter. He's father, a husband, and he is the chapter lead for When No One's Watching.
Yes.
We can add in podcast host, author, and a few other bits and pieces in there too. But
I live a very full life.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What have you struggled with in the last week?
That's a really good question. I think for me, I sometimes wonder why I said yes to a whole lot of stuff. And then I have this tendency sometimes to think I've got a long list of things to do, but realise they're not that important and they can wait. And I it's a constant kind of battle for me to kind of go, hang on a second. You don't need to do that right now. It's not. Just leave it. You know, it doesn't have to. You don't have to sit there with a long list of things to do. And in fact, I'm trying to get away from having a list and just, like having the one thing that you want to do next. And when I do that, I feel better. But when, like there's that slight anxiety of sometimes when you're like, I've got to do this and I've got to do that. And but then it's all the stuff you've said yes to, ultimately. So, as someone wise once said. So
having a curious mind and being a magpie doesn't.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not as. Yeah, I may appear to be magpie, but I'm very considered into what I take on,
right.
And but I just like doing lots of things. So it's a good thing, but it's a double-edged sword because it creates responsibilities and like you mentioned the podcasting thing, like we start recording our podcast series and then it's like, well, I've got to get now you're on a schedule and all those types of things, so it's fine. It's I can't say that it's not 60-70% my own doing. So
yeah,
but it's not a it's just it's an interesting thing I always battle with, and I quite often have to consciously reset myself and go, hang on, right, let's just sit down and look at this and go, does this all really have to happen right now? No, just leave it, and then you feel better, and then no one dies and it's fine. So it's totally right.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
What do you want to work on in the next week?
Next week, I'm looking forward to having a break, actually. So I've got a little bit of a winter holiday coming up. So
nice.
Yeah. So I've got a few things I want to get ticked off before then at work, but it's nice to have something to look forward to where you're going away for a week and you actually just want it to be completely free, so it gives you a little bit of motivation to just to get a couple of important things done, and
but be kind to yourself if you don't get
No, they're not. They're more for me feeling better about going away and closing a couple of things off. So nothing major. But
what are you grateful for?
Really, just our daughter just had her 13th birthday, and I'm just so grateful for the people I have in my life. It can sound really cheesy at times, but I genuinely mean that. And when you have those milestones like birthdays and things, it's a really great reminder of we've got the three of us in our family unit, and it's always great. And again, the holiday is going away with the three of us, so looking forward to that. But also just like great friends and people I like hanging out with, and I spent some time with my uncle a couple of days ago and sat down with him and chatted for about an hour and a half, and that was really nice. So we've got some really nice, good people,
good connection.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So important, so important. So as you know,
Yeah,
obviously,
well, that's what we're
yeah,
about. So that's that ticks
yeah,
that box.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And then and that that's taken a while, or it takes a while to realize it. It takes effort to cultivate it, and all those things you got to. But when it's there, it's fantastic. So
I like
yeah,
the use of the word cultivate it, right?
yeah.
We're going to go a bit off piste here, but this is
No, that's
interesting,
good.
right?
Yeah.
How have you gone about cultivating it?
Well,
I mean,
I
to me,
think
I know you, so it sort of almost seems second nature.
yeah, but again, I think maybe is cultivate a good word because it's active, and you have to think about the people. Um, like family's a really interesting one, isn't it? And you know, family you're related by blood, all that type of stuff. But it doesn't mean that they're necessarily the people you want to hang out with all the time.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so you do what you need to do sometimes. But for some of them, like I mentioned, my uncle, I love spending time with him. My cousin who lives here, I love spending time with her. Like I would hang out with her all the time, and she's first cousin, but she's super close with her. I could talk to her about anything. It's a way of keeping connected with the family at large, because she's kind of
The other side,
yeah,
yep,
she's exactly. So, but you do have to work at relationships. You have to spend time with people. You have to make the time for people. Doesn't mean you see them all the time, but just little things are really important. And I think the realization that it doesn't have to be everyone, and people come and go as well. So that's the other thing is I think you do have seasons in your
100%.
life where some people are closer to you than they were before, and then they might not be for a while, and that's fine. But you always know they're there. But you do have to work at it, and once you kind of identify who those important people are, you know where you need to spend your time, and you can just consciously kind of go, I haven't heard from that person, just reach out. Like whatever it is, just keeping that circle close. I don't know what the number is. There's the
5.
yeah, maybe
So there's the Dunbar's law,
Dunbar's law. Yeah, I was
which
gonna
gets you
say.
to 5. Wouldn't it be great if we had 5 close friends, contacts?
Yeah, and then I think the next layer is maybe kind of 20 or 30
Yeah.
probably close people that you work on. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah. But I just think it's so important, and it's something I've the effort, you talk it doesn't come naturally until you identify those people and you make it a habit basically, and I think maybe I've got there to some extent, but
You've just landed on the word that I think I've been searching for.
ah
Cultivated.
Yeah.
So the whole thing about creating connection, what does that look like? Well, there's actually you can go on a narrative of cultivating connection because that's relatable.
yes.
I talk about the drafting gate a lot. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that's
sorry,
right.
Rambling
Yeah,
just
no,
to say
no, you're right.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah.
There we go. What gives you meaning?
I think I'm really clear about what's important in my life and what I feel I can contribute to the world. I've got an affirmation, and I'll just say it out loud. I feel alive when I'm a positive influence on the world around me, and
Love it.
yeah, and that I keep coming back to that, and I get goosebumps saying it again because that's a good affirmation. But for me, it keeps me thinking about what are those things, like what is that contribution? And positive's a really important word for me as well, because it's like, is it adding something? Is it adding something to the people? Is it adding something to the work I'm doing? So I think that's a huge thing for me. It's like I don't think I'd be doing anything that wasn't adding something somewhere. Like it's a real. I mean, it sounds like what is the line? Like what is that? But for me, it's like, is it for me personally to grow and learn and do something? Is it to give something to the people around me? It might be both of those things, and then it might be giving something bigger. And if it's got all three, then awesome. So that's the way I look at things. And is it worth? Is that going to make more of a difference than that?
Do you go on? Well, so you've already said you're quite well considered, but you must go through a balancing act of or reflection, right? If you've been involved in something, and are you constantly thinking about that
Yeah, I think
affirmation?
so. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I do a lot of reflection.
Mm.
So 100%. Yeah. I've got into the habit of, like sitting down every month and, you know, quite simply listing out all the stuff that's happened, which is a great reminder of what you've actually been doing, because that gets lost in the sands of time even
Mm.
after a week or two.
Yeah,
Sometimes you're
yeah,
like, you
yeah.
can't even remember what happened. So that's really nice. That kind of gets you going, okay, well, we did a lot of stuff, like there's lots of really good stuff. You get all those memories and things like that, and then starting to think ahead. But it is a reflection exercise. It
Mm.
doesn't really matter how you do it. I just think it's really important to just stop, check in with yourself, and I'm trying to do that a little bit more weekly now as well, just to give a bit more intent to the week, probably to talk about some of the stuff that we just mentioned, which is not to overload my week,
Yeah.
and kind of go, this is going to be a big week. It's not try and throw another 5 things on top of it, or, just to get a feel for what's ahead.
Yeah.
And also kind of check in with where you're at, like, how am I feeling, physically, mentally, kind of emotionally, I'm feeling good, or is there something I need to work on, or is it, like, have I let the sleep slip a little bit, or whatever it is. It's just that check, rebalance, and kind of go again.
I love that.
Yeah.
There's a load of being grateful. Planning out where you spend your energy and all that kind of stuff. I think that's and having that positive affirmation. Love that.
Yeah, I've got a few affirmations, and I find, I think a lot of the stuff, it's, even a few years ago, someone will go, oh, have you got affirmations? And you're like, oh, geez, I better get some of those, because they sound like the cool, like there's loads and loads of tools, but I think the key is, one, trying some stuff, and then two, just settling on the stuff that works for you.
Yeah, feels right. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, and even affirmations, there's maybe not 1,000 ways, but there's loads of different ways you can do them. And one of my good friends was telling me about using photos and things like that. As you don't necessarily need the words. You could have an A4 page of a bunch of photos of the most important things in your life, and you might just look at it every morning.
Yeah.
And that's all you need to do. And if that works for you, cool. That's awesome.
The whole thing on my healing journey, a lot of it boils down to positive mindset.
Totally.
For all the weird and wonderful therapies and treatments that I've done, right?
Yeah.
It boils down to positive thinking, breathing, and being grounded.
Yes.
It's positive thinking and a bit of visualization.
Yeah.
And
that stuff's so powerful. It's incredible, eh? Yeah.
The bit that what I keep hearing from people who I would say are physically, mentally, emotionally, socially well is they've got that embedded in their daily life. So just to say, that's fantastic to hear.
No, it's good. It's taken a lot of work. Like, I'm sitting here damn near 50, and I've been trying to do this stuff for, I think, consciously for 15, 20 years now. So,
But it is dynamic and it is a journey, right?
Yeah, and I like adding new stuff as well. Like, this is the thing. I'm always reading a book and going, oh, yeah, geez, that's kind of cool. I should try that, or, just adding little things to keep it fresh. It's like there's stuff I've gone away from, as well. I think that's natural. So I think the main thing I say to people, and just on a medium like this, is like, don't beat yourself up about what you are doing or not doing, or what you think you're not doing well. Like, just settle into find a couple of things that work and just settle into them, and kind of, it sounds really trite, that make it a habit thing, but it is that. It's just don't overcomplicate it.
Make it simple, start small, and
all that real good stuff. But like, ultimately that's. But I think you do need some reflection. Like, it's really good, and I've been reading some stuff recently. You've got an amazing bookshelf, by the way, full of amazing books. But this idea of solitude has been on my mind this week, and that it's very, very hard for us to be in solitude. Now, solitude and loneliness, I've got Carl Davidson ringing in my ears because he likes pointing out the difference. Loneliness is when you're by yourself, not through choice. Solitude is when you're by yourself and you're choosing to be in that state. It's probably the simplest way to describe it. But it's very hard to get solitude when you're getting your phone pinging you all the time, and there's shit to do and all sorts of stuff going on. But we need to have some solitude in our lives, and we need to be comfortable with that. And I think, yeah, and that's really that's your reflection time as well. Like that's that time where it's just you. It's like you, your thoughts, where you're at, what's going on in your life at the moment. It's just there. It sounds very
I
zen,
love
but
that word, and something I'm trying very hard to do, but the state of my mind at the moment makes it very hard to do
yes,
that.
no, I can imagine. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
People talk about, or the one people have suggested to me is go outside, sit with in bare feet on the grass, or
yeah,
even better, go to the beach, sit with your feet in the sand, or
yeah, yeah.
but about that grounding
No,
helps with the
totally.
solitude.
Well, being in nature, seeing stuff going on
Yeah.
around you, like I, it's something I've been a lot more mindful about this year. Is I like doing a bit of walking. If I'm not doing something else, I'll try and get outside for a walk in the morning. Like that's kind of the default. And I've always listened to podcasts or music or something, generally podcasts while walking, and now I'm trying to not do that and actually just walk. Like it's and kind of go, do you know what? You're not listening to a podcast, so what? It doesn't matter. It'll always be there. There's always more to listen to. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard that from a few people.
Yeah.
Of course, the kids will call it raw dogging it, which just sounds...
Oh, right.
Yeah, not
Sounds terrible.
raw dogging. It does not sound like...
No.
I mean, what? Yeah, my
No, it
experience with
doesn't.
you- yeah.
No.
Well, sorry, that's probably enough about that. But walking, being active, that leads nicely into what you do when no one's watching.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so this is a so WNOW, WNOW. The short story is I heard about it a couple of years ago, and on a podcast, ironically, probably while walking, just to load up the story. Guy Andrew May, I follow, an Aussie who's an awesome dude, and followed him for years, and he interviewed a couple of guys about this thing called WNOW in Australia. And I heard it, and I was, oh yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, sounds cool. And then they did a revisit to the guys, and it had grown immensely. And so the second time I heard it, I reached out to my friend Karen, who you know, and I said, Karen, you know how I sent you that podcast, and we kind of went, it's probably not the right time. What about now? And he goes, yeah, okay. So now I need to say what it is. Ty Keneally and Dave Eccles, a couple of Irish blokes who live in Sydney. Ty was a professional AFL footballer, so he came over as probably out of Gaelic into Australian rules football. Played for the Sydney Swans, won a premiership, did all that kind of stuff, and then they cut him from the roster. So all of a sudden he went, I'm not a professional footballer anymore. Dave's a good mate of his. Dave said, noticed his mood drop and him not being himself, and said, mate, come down to the beach. We'll go down to the beach, do some stuff together, grab a coffee. He's like, yep, cool. So they went down and did that. That's effectively the format of WNOW that still exists. So they started with the two of them at Maroubra Beach in Sydney. By the end of the year, they had about 100 dudes signed up to join them. Not all coming every week, but the format is 6 a.m. Wednesday morning. The chapters are on. So that's the first chapter. They added a second chapter the year after, and another Sydney beach said, well, why are we always going to your beach? Why don't we just start one here? So they end up with two by the end of the second year. We're 4 years down the track. They've got 48 chapters globally.
It's crazy, right?
And about 2,000 odd members who are signed up to all the different chapters. So US, Canada, and New Zealand, Australia, and Ireland. And it's still the same format. 6 a.m. on Wednesdays, wherever it is, generally. There's a couple that have gone a little bit rogue and do Thursdays or do a lunchtime, but it doesn't really matter. But the simple format is it's there every week, and it's for men to turn up, do some movement together. We do a thing called 60 for 60, which is we collectively do 60 push-ups, depending on how many people are there. The group does 60 push-ups for the 60 men who take their lives every hour globally. And then we do a sharing circle where people can share good, bad, something they're struggling with, whatever's on their mind. And then coffee afterwards, optional. And so that's the general format. And when I reached out to these guys and said, "Hey, I heard you've got one of these things in New Zealand. Can we start one?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." And we said, "Well, what's the deal?" And we'll just send you some stuff and you can just get started. And I was like, "Okay, we'll just add you to our website." And okay, cool. No cost, no money. We'll send you the branding. It's like it's that simple. And we're talking to Dave, and he's like, first person. It's like you're talking to the guy who started it. And yeah, so that's the format. So we've started one in Otatahi, and there are a couple others in Auckland. But it's a format that's it's very translatable, and it's really in its essence, it's connection. And what's kind of cool about it is it's there every week. It's like whether you're there every week or not. I mean, we kind of organise it so we try and be there, but
you have to be there.
But there's been weeks I haven't been there. It's going to happen now. So it's now we're up and running, and if someone wants to turn up one week and they can't make it the next week, it's not. But they know it's always there. So, and the idea of when no one's watching is kind of like, what do you do when no one's watching?
Yeah.
And it's pretty powerful kind of concept, and
Yeah.
that gets right back to who you are as a man, how you show up, how you. I even kind of draw it into how do you deal with yourself? How do you talk to yourself? How do you, how do you believe in yourself when no one's watching? It's very kind of profound. And,
isn't
and the
it?
6 a.m. Wednesday morning, especially in our middle of our winters and stuff, but that's the point of it. And I've had someone go, you're going to do them at, do you do other ones at lunchtime? It's like, no, it's at 6 a.m. That's
the thing.
Yeah, and it is literally like there's very few people there. Where we host it, we got amazing, massive shout out to the Kind Foundation who have given us a room over winter in Christchurch, because
nice.
we were staring down the barrel of
Cold
this is really
doing.
great, and your white sand Aussie beaches and on the Gold Coast, that kind of thing. But we were doing it in Hagley Park, and then we were thinking, we've got to sort out something for winter, because like this morning -3, and dark, and you don't see the sun. But in summer when we started, it was amazing. Like the sun was literally coming up during the session.
Yeah, nice.
All that. It's very and being outdoors is really cool. So so we're indoors at the moment, but we try and get out for a walk. Is a thing we're playing around with once a month as well. Just we're free to set whatever the format is, but we try and do some movement. So it's very kind of loose, but wedded to the core whatever.
Sure.
The original format, I suppose.
Yeah, so I was going to ask about what kind of activities are being sold. So the 60 press-ups are a must.
Yeah, so they get spread. So the first. I always remember the first few weeks we only had 2 or 3 of us there, so there was a lot of press-ups.
Just took a while
per person. I mean, last week we had 10 people, so like a 6 press-ups each. So it's that's amazing. That's the most people we've had in a morning. But like some of those groups in Aussie, they'll get they're getting up to 100 type people on the beach and stuff in summer. So, but it's got loads of the exercise. We just do bodyweight exercise. It's things like 45 seconds of an exercise, 15 seconds rest, push-ups, burpees, all that, but with options. Like it's not a boot camp. We're not there to be superheroes.
You'll abuse anyone. Yeah.
No, exactly. It's there to. I mean, the point of it is to move together and to share an activity with other people, which is a really powerful thing. And we've got people who, I mean, we're not all flipping elite, athletes, and we're all different ages, and we've got everything from like 20-year-old who comes along through to someone who's probably 60 in their mid-60s, and everyone in between, and varying degrees of fitness. And it's not about and people really love that, get out, do something with a group of people, which is positive, and move together. and the feeling of satisfaction when they're done. Like, there's a lot of people who are like, wow, I didn't,
It ticks a lot of the things.
Yeah,
Movement,
yeah.
Talking side by side,
Yes.
having the coffee. So you've got the connection, you got the movement. It's all
Yeah,
good
yeah,
stuff.
all in the space of an hour. Like it's really cool.
Get into it
when no one's watching.
yeah,
Like again, at an hour, we've like some people were like, I don't know if I can get up at that hour, and then they surprise themselves by doing that, and then start a new habit type thing. So
would have been. I know where you're in the infancy in Christchurch. Would have been some of the sort of successes, and challenges from the movement.
I think I think the hardest. We've got a group of about 30 people on our chat, and I mentioned last week we had 10 people turn up. It's getting there the first time and I get it as well. There's a little bit of, it's unapologetically kind of a little bit raw in its format. Like, we're not going to move it to lunchtime when the sun's out and all that kind of stuff, because that's not the point of it. It's like there's certain things you have to do to commit to doing something like this. So, and if you went and made it easier for everyone to turn up to everything, I don't think it would be any different either. So, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden all these people are going to turn up. I don't think it'd be like that at all. So I think it's just getting there the first time. And I get that turning up to potentially, you probably don't know anyone. You might know one person there, but we've had people who have turned up who didn't know anyone there, which is kind of cool. Or a very, very tenuous, met someone once, heard about it, come along type thing, or saw something on LinkedIn. But when you get there the first time, then people were quite often like, oh, okay, so it's not, as much as you can say it's not...
Didn't know about this. It's really good. Yeah,
right? You can say it's not boot camp, but people have a bit of a hang-up of, I wonder what the exercises are going to be like. I wonder who the people are. I wonder, where am I going? Where's this place? There's all these barriers. It's 6 o'clock. Will I sleep through my alarm? All that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit of a commitment challenge. I think there's layers of commitment in there that you have to kind of get through. But once people get there the first time, they're like, oh, okay, it was almost like that wasn't as hard or bad as I thought. And we've even had kind of success stories. Like I had a guy I know reach out to me, and he said, look, can we catch up? You mentioned that anytime I want to talk about something, I'm just going through some stuff at the moment, can we catch up? I said, yeah, for sure, man. And random question, like, do you want to come down to the thing tomorrow that we're doing? I think I mentioned it. Oh, he goes, oh yeah, that thing, yeah. He turned up the next morning. Turned up at the wrong place, but we eventually found him. And he came down and he said, oh my God, I haven't done that for so long. I have not done that kind of movement. And what a great bunch of guys. And he's been back every
fantastic
week, like when he can, he's there, And so it feels, I love the simplicity of it, but I think I've seen the simplicity work, if that makes sense. Like it's pretty simple. You turn up, do some stuff together, but the connections that we're starting to see form in the group now as well, like it's really cool. And that plays out as, like dude who's just had a young baby, dude who's about to have a young baby, talking, like that, sharing those kinds of stories. I haven't had any sleep this week, newborn, me neither. How's your wife dealing with this? All that kind of stuff.
Being seen and heard by someone who knows, right?
Yeah, and there's layers and layers of that. You know what I mean? It's like, it's people who have occupations in common. It's people who have families, situations. We're not all the same. Like, we've all got little bags of each of those things, but there's someone, you can see that as the group's starting to grow, you can see that there's a commonality between peers or people, and they can have conversations about that. And we've talked about this. It's like trying to create a place where you can just talk about the really mundane day-to-day shit, with some other people, like other men, is actually really, really powerful.
But
And to know it's there every week.
Yeah, you know, problem shared is problem halved, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
The big thing that I've become fascinated with recently, well, one of the many things that
Yes.
I've become,
Yeah.
is around, you know, guys when they've got heavily into their career, heavily into their family, and forgotten who they are. They've lost their purpose and identity, certainly as they get a bit older.
Yeah.
There has been I can never say the word right, proliferation of running groups and exercise groups.
Yeah.
And you know, it's how do people find their people? It's like
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
You want to be able to. How do you help people be more actively social? This is research we did earlier in the year. And a personalised invitation from someone like me. Now that doesn't necessarily mean skin colour. It could be new dad,
common interests.
Yeah, right.
Common experience, common situation, common interest. Doesn't really matter, does it? Yeah. No, that's it. Yeah.
So then the question with that is, how do you help people to find their people?
Yeah. That's a good one. And these are all experiences, aren't they? And I think, you know, we always talk to kids, and I go through this as a father as well. You know, like you want young people to find things they're interested in, and the only way they're going to find things is by trying things. And as a parent, you encourage children to have that mindset, but they also kind of have that mindset themselves, don't they? Because they're exploring the world and like, oh, look at that thing, you know, like give that a go. We lose that as adults, don't we? And I think we lose it because we have commitments, you know, like that you can't remove the commitments of you've got to go to work and you've got a family and all that kind of stuff. But we don't naturally go and explore new things, and I'm really fascinated by that. There's been some you know, I'm thinking of some good books, like one called Range, which is an amazing book, and he talks about this concept of dabble time, which is like just time you could get to the point of making it a certain amount of time every week if you really wanted to kind of get really habitual with it. But the idea being that just give yourself the space to go and try something without constraints. You know, like you're not worried about trying to get to a level or master something or whatever. It doesn't matter. Just go and try something new. You know, like find those experiences. And for adults, it's potentially reconnecting with something they did before. And you mentioned like the running thing. With extra mile runners. Yeah, I used to coach with that group, and I have this very vivid memory of one lady in particular, but a lot of the ladies that come along to that and the program Get Up to 5, you know, running 5K.
I was 3 weeks off my first half marathon through that program. I think the programs are fantastic.
But the idea of being that, you know, and in its principle, it's like is getting someone from not doing anything to running 5K in 8 weeks. And everyone will go, oh, I can't do that. You know, like there's lots of barriers and all that. But I remember this lady going, I used to be a top level football goalkeeper when I was younger. And I looked at her and I went, okay. And she said, I've forgotten what that was. I've had so much go on in my life. You know, I've been a mum and work and all that kind of stuff. And I'm back here. And now I'm reconnecting with that feeling that I had when I was younger. You know, like I used to do that.
I love it. And there's a bastardized quote from about 3 different places that I've put into one is, who were you before the world got their hands on you?
Yeah.
I love that quote.
It is really cool, isn't it? Yeah.
It's 3 different quotes put into one.
No, but it's good. Yeah. It's a good combination. I like what you've done it. You should own that. You should own that quote.
And this is really what this is all about, right? Being active, community, all those things that we've forgotten about, and the pressures of life get in the way, and they're excuses why we don't do things.
Yeah, but I want to put that big caveat on there because I'm really mindful of, you talked about kind of sitting in a place of privilege sometimes where and for some people, just the thought of doing something like this is terrifying. I mean, I mentioned some of the guys who are like, oh God, exercise. I haven't done exercise for so long. Why would I go down 6 a.m. on a Wednesday morning with a bunch of strangers and do some form of exercise? I don't even know what it is, and can I do it? Will I be good enough? It doesn't. I think the caveat I want to put on all of this is it doesn't have to be a big thing. It's just a little thing. Like, it could just be pick up a book and read for half an hour. It could be, we've got some amazing facilities around now, haven't we? Like down at, the Turanga. I love that building, our main library. There's so much to do in there. There's so many things to explore. It might be, go and do something with your kids or whatever. It just doesn't really matter. There's I do masters athletics, and so I see the same issue. When I have conversations about masters athletics, people are like, that must be scary. I don't think I'm not good enough, and I'm like, how would you know? You
should see some people that are running around there. Yeah.
But you don't have to. I'm not asking you to come down and commit to training 4 times a week and breaking 11 seconds for 100 meters. I'm not asking. It's not that at all. And when you see you're around a sport like that, and you see flipping 80-year-old guys running 100 meters in 30 seconds, that it's just inspirational and massive smile on their face because they can still do it. So it doesn't have to be big. And it doesn't have to be a long-term, lifelong commitment to be the master of something. It doesn't have to be that at all. I think it's just find something, and this profound idea of find something new or reconnect with something you used to do. That experience is really cool. Some of the things, some random things, and I think I put a couple in my book. It's like, I love basketball. So I was like, right, why don't I just go and shoot some hoops? I'm not great at it, but you get better. The more you do it, obviously you get better. But I just love that. Go down to the primary school down the road with a basketball, shoot some hoops, even by myself. It's fun. I just got a real kick out of just starting doing that. So little things doesn't really matter. So these running groups are, it's playing on the ingredients of doing things with others. There's a social connection, and Bevan, who you met, will tell you that the biggest thing about the extra mile runners concept is the community. It's not the programs, it's not the accomplishments necessarily. It's I'm down there, I found people.
It's the coffee like afterwards. It's what the Hagley Park, we had Richard Malik on the other week, and he's like, it's not about running, it's the coffee afterwards.
Yeah.
Which is it's another way of saying it's the connection, right?
It's a connection. It's the finding, to your point, finding someone who's like you, who's dealing with shit you're dealing with, or doing something you want to do, or whatever it is. That's it in a nutshell, and that's what makes those things really powerful, because it removes some of the barriers, isn't it? It's like, anyone who's run with a group will tell you that you kind of forget about the running bit, even just a little bit is helpful. It's, like going out for a run with a friend, it's like, it's just something different. And, it doesn't say, there's lots of benefits from that stuff, I think. So, it's pretty cool, eh?
Yeah, it's great. So, whereabouts can people find you on a Wednesday at 6 a.m?
Well, so we're hosted at the Kind Foundation, which is, for Christchurch listeners, opposite the Botanical Gardens. Used to be called the YMCA, so we're in that building. But the best place is to go to the WNOW website, and that's wnow.org, so wnow.org.
We'll have it in the description.
And there's chapters everywhere. So if you've got Australian listeners, there's Aussie chapters all over the place. They've actually got some really cool stuff they're doing with the Lions Tour coming up, which is pretty awesome. So people in Australia, they've just managed to get it fully registered as a charity over there, which is awesome. And as I mentioned, we've got 3 chapters in New Zealand. There's one at Omaha, just north of Auckland, near Matakana, Browns Bay, and Otautahi, Christchurch, the best chapter, of course. And opportunities to start them as well. But if you are travelling as well, you could probably go and find one too, all over the place. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where you find out more. There's a sign up. It's called Sunrise Clubs and that kind of thing. Even though in the middle of winter the sun doesn't come up during the, but we're close. We're getting to longer days now. Like this week, we're over the hump, aren't we? So
And what's the thing of summer bodies are made in the winter?
That's right.
yeah.
100%. Don't leave it till October.
Yeah.
Start now. But yeah.
Oh no, look, Sean, that's all really fantastic stuff. It's great to be able to talk about this more, and hopefully, some of the listeners, some of the yarnsmen might come along. So,
for sure, yeah.
Thank you very much.
No, we'd love to see new people, and again, if just sign up, and we'll get you in a WhatsApp group, and just reach out and ask questions. Like don't jump in there and just kind of put all those barriers up. But yeah,
there we go. It's easy. Removed all the barriers. But
yeah, just talk to us. Yeah. We'll remove the barriers. We're not going to change the time though. So.
Very good. Well,
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Hey, no worries.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, it's nice to sit down with you, Matt. Always.
Yeah.